The call comes on a Wednesday afternoon while the desert sun is beginning to sink behind the Franklin Mountains, painting the sky in dusty oranges and pinks. You're sitting in your cramped one-bedroom apartment in northeast El Paso, slumped on that ugly secondhand couch you bought for $80 from a woman on Facebook Marketplace. No matter how many cans of Febreze you empty on it or how often you scrub the fabric, it still carries that lingering, sour scent of cat urine. You're eating dry cereal straight from the box for dinner because your grocery order won't arrive until Friday when your small paycheck finally hits the bank. The fridge is almost bare, just a half-empty jug of milk that's starting to turn. Your phone vibrates on the scratched coffee table. Unknown Texas number. You almost let it ring out. Rent is already 11 days late, and the landlord has taped a bright yellow eviction notice to your door like a public warning. The property management company doesn't play around. A $75 late fee kicks in after 10 days, followed by an extra $10 for every additional day. You're being financially punished simply for not having enough money. Still, you answer. When you're this broke, every unknown call could be the callback you've been praying for. You've submitted 37 job applications in the past 2 weeks, warehouse positions, fast food, delivery apps, retail, anything that might pay the bills. The voice on the line is calm, measured, and professional. Male. Slight accent, but his English is smooth and confident. He addresses you by your full first and last name. Says he got your contact from a mutual friend, Luis, the guy you used to work shifts with at the auto parts warehouse 6 months earlier. Luis, who quit suddenly and showed up driving a brand new truck he could never have afforded on warehouse wages. When you asked him about it back then, he just smiled and said he'd found better opportunities. You didn't push for details. People in El Paso learn early not to press too hard. The man offers you a simple opportunity. Low effort, good pay, completely safe. He sounds exactly like a recruiter from a legitimate staffing agency. No pressure, no threats, no talk of loyalty or consequences, just business. He asks if you'd be willing to rent a storage unit on Dyer Street, a standard 10x10. Put it in your own name, text him the unit number and access code. $1,000 cash, placed in an envelope taped under the old payphone outside the Valero station on Montana Avenue, ready for pickup within 2 hours of completion. You tell him you'll think about it and hang up. You sit there on the cat-smelling couch, staring at the late notice on the kitchen counter. Your rent is $150 a month. The warehouse job pays $16.20 an hour for 34 hours a week. They carefully keep you under full-time to avoid paying benefits. After taxes, you clear roughly $1,900. Rent takes more than half. Add phone, electricity that spikes in the brutal summers, gas for the aging truck, insurance, and you're left with maybe $250 to $300 for food, laundry, toiletries, and every other basic necessity a human being needs just to survive. All of this in a city that sits directly on the most active smuggling corridor in the Western Hemisphere. 15 minutes of simple paperwork for $1,000? The math feels almost insulting in how clear it is. You call him back the next morning. The entire rental process takes just 11 minutes. You use your real ID, real name, and real address. The woman at the front desk looks bored and doesn't give you a second glance. You text the unit number and code. 2 hours later, you find the envelope exactly where he said it would be. You count the crisp bills twice in the front seat of your truck, heart pounding. They're real. You drive straight to the office, clear the full rent plus the $185 in late fees that had piled up. Then you go grocery shopping like a normal person. Chicken breasts, rice, fresh vegetables, eggs, milk, even a few small luxuries. You fill your gas tank completely for the first time in months. $215 remain. You hide the cash deep inside an old boot in your closet. That night, the constant heavy pressure on your chest finally lifts. You sleep better than you have in weeks. Nothing illegal happened. You simply rented a storage unit. Ordinary people do it every single day. 9 days later, the second call comes. Same polite, calm voice. He checks on you like a thoughtful employer, asks how you're doing, whether the payment arrived on time. Then he gives the next task. Go to the Walmart on Joe Battle Boulevard this Thursday at 6:15 p.m. Park in the third row near the Garden Center entrance. Leave the truck unlocked. Go inside and shop for exactly 20 minutes. When you return, a black backpack will be waiting on the passenger side floor. Drive it to the storage unit, place it inside, lock the door, and leave. Do not open it. Pay is $2,500, same Valero drop. You don't ask what's inside. He doesn't volunteer the information. That shared silence becomes the foundation of everything. The backpack is surprisingly heavy, around 30 pounds. Your pulse races the entire drive, but you stay exactly at the speed limit, hands properly at 10 and 2, stopping completely at every light. You complete the drop without looking inside. You collect the envelope. In under an hour, you've earned more than 2 full weeks at the warehouse. The brutal math becomes harder to ignore. The jobs continue arriving every 10 to 14 days. They grow gradually, always staying just on the edge of what you can justify to yourself. One week, you're paid to hold 4 heavy duffel bags in your apartment closet for 48 hours. $3,000. Another time, you make careful cash deposits across 8 different banks using pre-filled slips with unfamiliar account numbers, always under federal reporting limits. $4,000 for a single morning. You drive a white Ford F-250 with legitimate auto parts company logos from a quiet residential street in Socorro to a body shop in Las Cruces. 45 minutes across the state line. Leave the keys in the visor. Someone else drives you back. $5,000. The truck looks completely normal. Whatever is hidden inside would require dismantling the vehicle to discover. You quit the warehouse the following week. Tell your boss you found better work. He doesn't ask questions. No one in El Paso presses. You're now making between $8,000 and $14,000 a month. You move into a small, modest house near the university. Nothing extravagant, just clean, decent furniture that doesn't scream new money. You keep driving the same old truck, wearing the same faded clothes, and eating at the same local spots. The panic of the 23rd of every month disappears. But a quieter, darker feeling replaces it, the growing awareness that you are now useful to people who could make you vanish as easily as they made these envelopes appear. You've never met anyone in person. The voice on the phone remains your only contact. You exist as a clean, ordinary node in a vast, invisible system, an American citizen with a spotless record and an unremarkable face. That ordinariness is your greatest value. It makes you invisible. And invisible is extremely valuable. 8 months in, you've quietly accumulated almost $60,000 stashed in different places. The boot in the closet, a locked box inside the storage unit, and a savings account at a credit union across the state line in New Mexico. You still live modestly. You're saving for some undefined future where this chapter ends and the money feels clean. But that future keeps getting delayed because the calls never stop and the tasks remain just easy enough to feel like gray area work instead of real crime. Then, one evening, the conversation changes. The voice is still calm and polite, but the request is new. The organization needs another clean driver, someone with no criminal record, someone who desperately needs money. He says you probably know the type. A struggling former coworker, a cousin between jobs, a friend whose phone rings with unknown numbers because they're hoping it's a job offer. All he needs is a name and a number. He'll make the call himself using the exact same gentle pitch he once used on you. You sit alone in your quiet house, the house paid for by those mysterious envelopes, and think about Luis, the man who once passed your name along the chain. You remember the 37 unanswered applications, the endless cereal dinners, the late notices taped to the door, the growing stack of $10 daily fees. You picture another desperate person right now, sitting on their own worn-out couch somewhere in this city, running the same hopeless financial calculations you once did. You give him the name. You give him the number. You hang up. Somewhere in El Paso tonight, another phone is about to ring. A desperate man or woman will hear a calm, polite voice offering a simple, low-risk opportunity. They'll hesitate. They'll think about it overnight. They'll call back. They'll rent the storage unit. They'll collect the envelope. They'll finally sleep without that crushing weight on their chest. And months from now, they will be sitting exactly where you are now, holding the phone, being asked for a name, and they will give one. Because the cartel doesn't need guns and threats to recruit here. It simply waits for rent day, for stagnant $16 an hour jobs, for stacks of rejected applications, and for the quiet desperation of people who can no longer make the numbers work. Through honest means. The call you answered 8 months ago was never the beginning. It was only your turn in a long, unbroken chain that started long before you and will continue long after you, powered by the most renewable resource in America, ordinary people, who have run out of other options.